All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Green White Checker TV. Tonight we have the Area 51 Super Speedway Truck Series here tonight at Daytona International Speedway. As always, those 75 laps are scheduled race distance. Of course, the potential of those three green-white checkered attempts, and then one fast pair for these trucks here tonight. So, a little bit of a smaller field this evening. Supposedly there's some other events going on Daytona that some people might be tuned into. So, I think this is the right one to be at tonight, though. So, joking aside, though, hope everyone is having a wonderful evening. So right now, like I said, drivers putting down their qualifying laps, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this is going to be the halfway point in the season. So, points are going to start to become all that more important because, again, it's a 12 race season, which means there's actually only, I believe, after tonight, 2 more races until we get to the playoffs. So that top 8 going to be ever more important. So we're going to pull up those standings coming into tonight, which was race number 5 again. We'll start things off at race number 9. Basically, we'll have 9, 10, 11, 12 will be the 4 playoff races. So right now, Gabe Butler leading Dean Wilkinson by 11 points. Then you got Maxwell Caldwell, BK Anderson, Eric Laurie, Vicente Guerrero, Todd Siebels, and Sebastian Marin right now sitting in those top 8 spots. Actually, a tie for 8th with Sebastian and Bud Steele. So realistically, kind of 9 holding that spot. But right there, only 5 out is Robert Rocks right there. Patrick Groover as well. Jay Hilliard. So there's a lot of potential heavy hitters here that could still find their way, try to bump some of these guys out. Everybody does have one drop week. So again, some who may not be here tonight, this may be a drop week, or maybe someone had a rough night that they can use those as their drop week. So I'll have to keep an eye and see how that's all going to pan out. But points going to be all ever critical as we talk about week in and week out. And then also to play spoiler in tonight, he's been helping me out with some of the broadcasts, but I told him he's going to have to hop in the truck here tonight and put some laps down, and that is going to be the number 11 of Matt Wagner. So I really appreciated his help over the past few weeks, with all of his help in the booth. So unfortunately, don't have Brandon Webb tonight as well. I had to take care of a few things after having some time off. So hopefully we'll get him back next week. But unfortunately, probably regrettably, able to drag my brother into the booth here, Quabi, and say you're going to probably regret this decision. But definitely glad to have you on here and say you're going to kind of get your feet wet here with broadcasting, and I know you've done plenty of racing with saying you can probably maybe explain a little bit more for what you see as the race goes on, kind of what it feels like on the VR side of things. But you say you're going to get to look at this race here from a very different point of view tonight.
Yeah, I'm excited to join. Obviously, I haven't done this before, so this will be an interesting learning experience. I don't think I've actually run the trucks at Daytona in a long time, but I figure plate racing is plate racing, so I'll add the commentary as I can.
Yeah, so it definitely is a pretty similar animal. Like I said, I know you've been doing a lot on the super speedway with the Xfinity cars on Sunday nights, but I'm saying with a couple good results over the course of those couple seasons you run, I think at least one win if I'm not mistaken, and also being able to help to be that pusher to help that 51 truck or car at that time to get the win as well. So it'll be fun to say what these guys have in store inside. I think it's going to be a little bit different look here tonight. Again, smaller field here. I think in the maybe about mid 20s or so, somewhere like that. So we have been getting up towards around high 30s, 40s. But like I said, there's a certain other event going on tonight at Daytona on TV that is going to be hard to compete against. So I'll say, but definitely thankful to those that are able to hop on here, and we'll see what these guys have in store for us tonight.
Yeah, the real prime time racing's happening here, anyways. So I agree with you. They chose the right place to be.
Yeah, I can only cut off so much here. I don't want to make anybody miss out after the. I had to pull off the Super Bowl. Didn't want to embarrass anybody there, but for Daytona though, it was time to bring it back. So with that though, it looks like just about completed here with qualifying. I see one truck left on track. Looks like just about to finish his lap here. Timing it pretty much to perfection. I just see him fly on by there. We'll see where that puts him on the running order, but I believe that should complete qualifying here tonight, and indeed it will. So we'll let things cycle through here. Let's go ahead and pull up our grid for tonight's event. And I say not the big surprises here. Sebastian Marin going to take the pole and by actually a really big margin for super speedway standards, 0.5 of a second over Zachary Lima. So that's another story here we're going to be talking about is the return of some help for Sebastian Marin with one of the Dale Cup guys of Zachary Lima. And then you got Gary Slipinski here, J.D. Crow, Eric Laurie, T.J. Mashaw, Robert DuPont, Charles Johnson, Jack Walls, Kyle Heath are top 10. 11th on back, you've got Dave Bingle, Michael Spell, Keith Horner, Maxwell Caldwell, Gaetano Papalardo, Gabe Butler, Matt Wagner, we mentioned making his debut back in the trucks here on Thursdays, and then Robert Rock, BK Anderson, Jim Brooks, Vicente Guerrero, Scott Ferguson, Bob Fitzgerald, Todd Siebels, and then a few more to add to the list here. You've got Willie McKellar, Dean Wilkinson, and Randy Miner. So with that, we have 27 trucks, it looks like, taking part in tonight's event. And so, like I said, Quabi, this is going to make a big difference. I feel like, again, smaller truck count. I think it's going to kind of change the ebb and flow, if you will, of this race. Let's say, like I said, I know you're used to also on the Sunday seeing those mid to upper 30s car truck counts. So could make a pretty big difference in how these guys maybe run this race a little bit. It's going to definitely make mistakes be a little bit more crucial as well, because you're going to have less opportunity to kind of recover from those mistakes with the less vehicles on track. And then of course we always talk about these trucks getting a little worse fuel mileage than the Xfinity cars. So going to be a 3-stop race for these guys instead of the typical 2. Likely see probably about the 22, maybe 23 lap window for those that are able to stretch it a little bit extra for our race here tonight.
Yeah, I don't want to add the commentator's curse. I'm not sure if I have the experience to provide that yet, but it could lead to a lot of green flag racing, maybe some green flag pit stops to get into the equation, which always is exciting but shakes up the field. And yeah, an early mistake could be costly, particularly if it does go green.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's exactly the make or break of those green flag pit stops. So I was saying, also got to mention, like I said, again, some, I wouldn't say new names, new faces, but return of a few drivers. Like I said, Zachary Lima coming back in the 27 car, or truck, I should say. Probably very happy of Sebastian Marin to have him back to help him out a little bit. Always good to have some teammates, and when you've got one as good as Zachary, that's not a bad place to be. Say one of the league admin owners, Charles Johnson, also here on track in that number 9 as well. So good to have Charles be able to not be working for once in racing. And then I heard special paint scheme on the side of that number 11 truck of Matt Wagner, and sure enough, the FedEx truck turning into the Merc X truck. Say for those that aren't aware, say kind of his online nickname here. So right now it looks like 25 trucks at the moment here going to be taking grid. I think tonight was going to be Gabe's drop night, so I think maybe going with a start and park approach, unfortunately, for that number 3 truck tonight. Now, I'll have to check on that too. Say maybe a car number change for that number for Gabe, so maybe something to look into in the future, into some future races. But again, 75 laps is a scheduled race distance, 1 faster pair. Fuel window, again, roughly around low 20s, probably 21, 22, 23. And yeah, so say Quabi, I know you're familiar with these tracks with the Xfinity cars, but a little narrower here. Probably won't see that third lane as frequently, but I think we will see it at some point towards the closing half of this race tonight.
Yeah, the temptation of the top lane is ever present. We'll see how long this group can resist. I haven't watched a lot of the truck racing so far this season, unfortunately, so I don't know how it will go, but the green flag is out.
Yep, and we are down and underway here tonight. Again, 75 laps are scheduled distance at Daytona, as that front row of Zachary Lima and Sebastian Marin lead the way into turn number 1. And you see Gary Slipinski right off the bat staying nicely tucked up on the back of that 23. Of course, that inside line always kind of gets that initial momentum here as they go through turns 1 and 2. The question will be for Gary, can he clear that 27 truck and maybe try to jump himself up top and snag a lap lead early on? But so far, looks like he's going to stay committed to that number 23.
Yeah, 23, again, is a fantastic qualifying lap. So Zachary Lima, their teammates, is that accurate?
Yes, yeah. So, yeah, Zachary, he hasn't been racing in a while. It's been a few months, so I'm, like I said, glad to see him back here. And then you mentioned temptation of that third lane, and you see it right off the bat here, that 94 Maxwell Caldwell. The temptation has been too great for him. He just can't help himself. He's already jumped to the top. However, a little bit, let's see, 2 trucks hitting pit road here. Not sure if something happened to them, maybe pit penalties or or what's going on, but the 14 of Vicente Guerrero and William McKellar both hitting pit road here. Again, actually, no, I think those are drive-through penalties from previous incidents. So that's just on the admin side of things. That was the penalty they had to serve for previous incidents on over the course of the season, and so that's them getting that service done and out of the way. And honestly, probably the best opportunity for them to have that happen with the two of them. That way they can stay working together and use that draft to their advantage to kind of minimize time lost, but obviously you're going to need a caution to help them get back into the mix of things.
Yeah, it's the right time to do that move. You want to get that penalty out of the way, give you maximum time to get back into the pack. Obviously, like you pointed out, will require a lucky break, and I feel like a caution is inevitable. Although this league has gone caution-free on previous occasions.
Yeah, that's going to be the hope for those guys. So you never want to be one to hope for that yellow, but yeah, when you're stuck in a situation like that, and as you see a big bobbles up the front there with Zachary Lima getting a push from the 5 of JD Crow. But yeah, so it definitely becomes more possible to have those incidents happen, especially these trucks. They just aren't the best pushers with one another at times. To say if you just get a little off center, it really kind of upsets those trucks. But right now, it's pretty much 2x2 about the first, looks like 6 or so rows. Then things kind of settle off just outside the back there, right around Matt Wagner in that number 11 truck there. And then I think it's Bob Fitzgerald right behind him in the 08. Again, kind of just in that little cruising spot. But I said these guys a little further back, got to be careful not to drop too far back. Looking at that 31 of Gaetano Papalardo, just a little bit, about just over half a second off of Bob here, but does have a pretty steady group of trucks here. So it looks like a couple of those TW Motorsports guys tagged on there as well, with Robert Rock, Dean Wilkinson, Randy Miner, Todd Siebel. So those guys are going to stay working together, and they're definitely close enough to still hang on to that draft. But I just always get a little nervous when you start to get that half-plus second distance from the truck in front.
Yeah, I was looking at the same thing. It felt pretty borderline for a second, and you get a split like that. The second group has to work really well together. And at Daytona and cars going 2x2, it's not as easy as it looks. But look, yeah, I think they're safe.
Yeah, Gaetano definitely gained a fair bit of time over that last lap, so he's definitely in a safe zone, as well as Robert. I think they're both well within a spot where they'll easily hold on to that draft. And saying we talked about some of the paint schemes here tonight. So we got a couple of fun drivers, I think, working some hopefully not an embarrassing thing where they're running the same paint scheme. We got that 37 Keith Horner in that Cornflakes truck, and then right behind him Dave Bingle as well. So you hope that's a planned thing. Otherwise, just like I said, maybe like, oh man, I didn't realize you're going to wear that same outfit with me tonight. But the fact that those two are running together kind of leads me to think that this is a planned strategy for these two. So as we get further on the course of this race, I would expect to see those two guys continue to work together.
Missed opportunity for cross difference there.
Yeah, unfortunately, missing the Groover brothers tonight as well. They always had some fun combos of their paint schemes, kind of the same theme, but a little different on the colors or things of that nature. So, it's always fun to kind of get that little mix of paint schemes and sponsors with some of these drivers and teammates and such. So, but right now things holding pretty steady here. It's pretty much running right, actually top 6 right where they qualified, no changes in positions. The only one really to gain a couple spots in this main pack is Michael Spell right now, which is +3 at the moment. Of course, as it changes every time as they get kind of each lane kind of has that ebb and flow, and also that 13 of Kyle Heath in that Auburn Tigers truck as well. So right now these guys kind of like I said, just moving around back and forth a little bit. However, while we're looking at that 5 truck, JD Crow was able to push Zachary Lima enough out front to clear that 23 of Sebastian Marin, as he now drops to that inside line. He's going to lead his teammate on the inside row, which will allow JD Crow to start to get that big push right off the bat here from that 33 of TJ Mashaw.
Yeah, that's probably exactly what Lima and Marin want to have happen anyways. They can work together, control that bottom line, and force the top line to bring their A game, see if they can get a car length ahead and take over.
Yeah, and that'll be the question. It's just a back and forth on strategies too, where a lot of times you'll see that middle lane, they'll clear the inside line, then just drop straight to the bottom. Other times, occasionally we will see that leader of the outside line or middle lane kind of stay in that group and kind of feel like, okay, that momentum is going to keep me where we want to be here. So we'll have to keep an eye and see how that goes. Haven't forgotten about Vicente and William. Right now they are coming through turns number 4 right now. So lap time wise, they're about a second and a half slower than their leaders with just the two of them. That's kind of to be expected. But again, though, with the fact that there's the two of them working together, I say their lap times are significantly better than what it would be if they're running solo. So it's I say it's still kind of holding off the potential lap situation here. But again, they've only got about another 12 or so laps until a first round of pit stops happen. And saying that's in where their case, A, of course, like I said, hoping for that yellow, but also B, the potential of maybe splitting their lead pack up a little bit, just maybe help that damage a little bit, maybe some damage limitations, if you will. And maybe if someone gets a pit penalty, maybe add another truck or two to tag on to their draft as well to kind of help their cause.
Of course, if they do get lapped, they'll have to fight out for the lucky dog position between each other.
Yeah, and that's the tough part.
They're effectively teammates now, and then they'll be competitors again.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's a tough spot to be in. Where it's like, okay, yeah, we're working together to help ourselves out here, try to stay on the lead lap. But then, yeah, if that 27 and the 5 get to him and get around him, then yeah, it's a big fight to try to be that first one down, because you never know if and when that yellow is going to be, and we've seen it. It's just the timing of it could be huge. So. Say right now, they're just doing all they can to try to keep in front of that pack. Last time by, they were only about a second slower than the lead pack. So again, they're well, actually no, I'm lying. They're about 2 seconds slower. Apologies, a 49.69 to a 47.89. So they not don't go the wrong way there in the lap times. They can't read very well, but right now though, very very calm here in this main group. Kind of like I anticipated, Quabi, with these guys, the smaller draft group staying 2 by 2. The one thing that I feel like this could do, though, is I think it really could open up some strategy. Again, a smaller field here. If you can get maybe about 3-4 trucks to break off and go alternate strategy, maybe try to short pit a little bit, that could be an advantage to try to separate yourselves from the rest of the field here. If they maybe make that slightly shorter pit stop, maybe gain a couple of seconds, and that could be enough to break away. And so on the team side of things right now, I think the biggest group probably would be the TW Motorsports guys. I think they've got about 5 solid drivers with Dean Wilkinson, Randy Miner, Todd Siebels, Robert Rock's also in that mix. So they've got a pretty good core group of guys that could try to do something off strategy if they choose to.
Yeah, and there'll also be the temptation to run long, maybe put a splash of fuel in it at the end and try to get there. There's no way to shave a pit stop off in this situation, so you're not going to see any of that.
Yeah, exactly right. Even though this track is the smallest of the super speedway ones at that 2.5 miles, compared to Talladega being that 2.66, it's just not enough to save enough fuel to make that distance. But like I said, I mean, there's going to be some drivers, but I think you made a great point though, is you can save a lot to maybe make that final pit stop just that much shorter. The question will be, of course, if you can do enough to. The big one is if you can make that one of those pit stops be just a 1 can stop instead of plugging in that second can. That's really where the big time change happens in these pit stops with these trucks here. So I think it's going to be kind of a 2 and then probably like not a splash, but 2 and just a little bit, because again, talk about the fuel numbers for a scheduled 75 lap race. With them being able to go about 60 or so. Well, actually, I'm going to hold on a second, because you see one going to the apron there. I think that was William McKellar. And then this is a dangerous spot for those leaders, because you never want them to be split up there. Let's say Vicente chose to ride the wall there, which I think is the right call there, because what's happened to William here, he's going to completely lose the draft once again. So that we talked about that lucky dog fight. At this point, it's going to be pretty much a no. There won't be a fight, because it's going to be easily in Vicente's hands. Except for the fact that he's just got to keep that truck clean in case of an incident out in front of him.
Yeah, I think William is trying to effectively disappear, and it cost him that lucky dog spot and the draft, unfortunately for him. Very gentlemanly of him, but probably wasn't necessary.
Yeah, it's just a tough spot to be in. Again, a narrower track here at Daytona. If they were 2x2 at Talladega, yeah, okay, I feel safer running that third lane, but and we've seen drivers do it a lot of times, especially when you see that 3x3 behind you. You're like, okay, yeah, I'm going to drop to the apron, and I don't want to affect this outcome. But this early in the race, when they're running 2x2, It's definitely probably the right call to just try to run the outside line if you can, because like I said, loses the draft, but then also again doesn't have the drafting partner anymore. So for him, he's, like I said, we'll watch the lap times, but I think this next time around we're going to see pretty obviously he's going to be multiple seconds slower than even what he was with Vicente earlier. So like I said, right now those say about a little less than 10 laps away from pit stops here as we're starting lap number 15 here. But right now, like I said, everybody's still staying pretty calm 2x2. I have seen a few trucks start to move around a little bit, go from the bottom to the top. I think some of those wanting to start to try to, as I said, that's going to matter. 33 up into the wall here. Not sure if it's a push gone wrong. So far, we stay green as he's able to keep it pointed in the right direction. But unfortunately, the 33 TJ Machado gets by far the worst of it, and we do stay green somehow. But it's really going to separate the field. So let me go back and see what exactly happened to TJ, because he was right up at the front here when this all kicked off. So let me back things up here a little bit and watch this 33 as they head into turn number 1. And it might just be unfortunate push a little. We talked about the push a little bit off-centered. And yeah, you can see right there the 13 truck just kind of angles off to the right a little bit, and then gets that push when he tries to get centered back up, and that just completely turns the 33 to the right. And then it looks like possibly a little bit of contact as well for Michael Spell on the right side of his right side of his truck. And then it looks like everybody else gets away fairly cleanly. Robert DuPont had a bit of a moment on the apron, but saves it. So unfortunately, that was the break that Vicente was hoping for. Does not wind up happening, and actually that 33, you can see suspension damage. That truck crab walking down the backstretch. So we'll jump back live because he's hit pit road here. But unfortunately, I said no yellow, so that's a heartbreaker for TJ. Nothing he could do there. Just was along for the ride with that bad push.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. He's trying to, the top line trying to push forward, and obviously didn't work out. No yellow is a little bit surprising, but he gathered it up quite well. But what it also has done is it really split this field apart. So you have, I think, Matt Wagner, I was watching him, and he's pretty well distanced now because he was in the top lane. I think he was a couple cars behind him when that happened. And there are others that now have to play catch up, and it's you may elect to go ahead and hit the pit early because you're going slow, and you might as well get that time cost out of the way and hope to reconvene with some other cars.
Yeah, you're right, because right now, the lap time-wise, definitely, last time by, they're about 3-4 tenths of a second slower than the lead pack. They're already 5.5 seconds off that front pack. So right now, you've got 11 in the lead pack from Kyle Heath, JD Crow, back to Charles Johnson. But then, like I said, you got to go all the way back here to the Ford truck of Scott Ferguson. And I mean, you've got 4th through 22nd here, 12th through 22nd here. So you got about 10 trucks strong there. So it's pretty even pack there. Like I said, between about 11 on the one, 10 on the other. So it's a pretty even group of trucks here right now, the way they're lined up. But just lap time wise, it's still advantage going to that lead pack. Last time I was a 48.12 for Kyle Heath, 48.98 for Scott Ferguson. So yeah, they're gonna need to start getting a little more aggressive. And I think you see Vicente, I think he's kind of realized what's going on. He's kind of picking up the job of pushing that Ford truck. But again, it's not just the front 2 trucks. That 3rd truck now, Jim Brooks, he's got to be pretty aggressive as well. Just kind of stay as tucked as he can on the back of that number 14 to kind of keep that momentum pushing forward. But you talked about probably some drivers maybe going off sequence here. Say, hey, let's just pit early. That's going to be Todd Siebels, Dean Wilkinson. They're going to try to take a gamble here, jump in a little early, see if maybe they can offset some of that hurt that they're going to have from that losing that main draft here.
And while that's going on, the top line is starting to evaporate in the front group as people are trying to work their way to the bottom to hit the pit road. So that might give the second group a chance to close the gap. I don't think they're going to catch up without extra coordination, maybe a little bit of help. But yeah, it's feeling like pit stops are about to happen for everybody.
Yeah, it's not too far away for sure. And last time by, it was a lot closer. It's a 48.18 to a 48.24 between JD and Scott. This time by, it's a 48.28 for JD. Will drop back to Scott Ferguson. And it is a 48.65. So the time's going the wrong way right now. I think, again, you can just see the gap that they have between those front 3 trucks here. It's really not what's needed. I think that's why you see Matt Wagner hopping up to the top there, picking up that 33 and 31. I think they just feel like, hey, there's probably more pace in this if we be a little more aggressive. Whereas you jump back to the top 3 here, and you can see how tucked up on each other they are. And that's, I mean, like I said, those little things, that's the difference between a 4828 to a 4860, is just those trucks need to be very tight together, lockstep. It can't just be those top 2, all 3, 4 plus trucks on the inside. The closer you are, the more momentum and the more push you're going to have to kind of propel yourself forward.
What could add insult to injury is once this top group pits, they are going to come out, probably stay single file for a little bit of time, and potentially run even faster. So I think the second group really you have to be aggressive now, hit the pits aggressively, try to get that 6.5 second gap to hopefully 5, and then see if they can claw their way back.
Yeah, exactly right. You can see that those teammates on the outside now of TJ Mashaw and then the 31 of Gaetano Papalardo trying to make that outside line work. You see Matt Wagner now leading the inside lane with that number 4 truck behind him of Scott Ferguson. But again, you can see visually the difference in the gaps between these trucks is just they're just not tight enough, and that's what's really biting the second pack right now. Is they have to stay hooked onto each other a lot more aggressively. And that's what's really costing them right now. As you can see, a lot of movement left and right as well. So. And that it's showing in the lap times as well. Say it's again about 3 to 4 tenths slower. We talked about that gap being about 4 seconds. It's now up to almost 7 seconds here between between the 9 and the 11 off the lead. Though they're now almost about 8 seconds off the overall lead.
And the safe strategy of hanging back ends up being less safe in these smaller packs of racing's cleaner. Because something happens, you have to check up and. Here's a result, and if you don't end up with the wrong as leaders come to pit. Yeah,
but it looks like a combo of the Dale Cup guys and some of the boot knockers as well. So you can see it looks like pretty clean entry overall for all 6 of these guys here. So now the next step, of course, is to make sure that stagger that they have is correct, to make sure they all hit their pit stalls correctly. And then also behind them, another group, let's say that second pack, a lot of them coming in as well. And surprisingly, you see the 33s. You see these guys got a little nervous about that pit stalls. Again, they don't want to try to step on each other's toes. So that's leaving just a few trucks out on each group right now. So you've got the 37 of Keith Horner. He's got Kyle Heath, Michael Spell, Charles Johnson, Dave Bingle with him. So they're going to have those 5 trucks. I'm suspecting probably going to hit pit road because we are lap 23 coming to 24 this time. So actually a really good fuel mileage for these guys. And yet here they all come. They're all stagger out again, make sure they don't get into one another. And then right behind them, we'll probably see Matt Wagner and Jack Walls hit pit road. But it's just the 2 of those guys that was going to really hurt their top end speed as well. Unfortunately, as you see, Matt's going to try to send it onto that pit entry again, try to gain as much time as he can. But right now, say the question is going to be where everybody comes out in relation to one another. And right now, it's Sebastian Marin and his teammate Zachary Lima. They stretched it out by about a half a second on Gary Slipinski. But I think they're going to have probably about a 5-truck breakaway when this is all done. But we'll have to see where that second pack led by Keith Horner comes out in relation to him.
Yeah, that was great pit stops by Lima and Marin. They I think they're going to have company, but it's not guaranteed at this point.
Yeah, I think actually job may be done here for the pack that pitted the lap later with Keith Horner right now still showing as our race leader because he's starting to build up speed. He's got Charles Johnson right behind him, Michael Spells right there as well, and they're building up speed here pretty quickly. And now they just got to make sure they choose the right lane here because they're going to have that pack, and you can see, yeah, there's a question mark of which way to go.
Ooh,
and they had to squeeze the outside lane here, so I think they should be able, as long as they stay tucked up onto one another, they should be able to pick up the speed back up. And I say that we talked about maybe a 6-truck pack. Looks like it may turn into about a 10-truck pack, as unfortunately you saw Eric Laurie just caught the outside wall a little bit, and that's cost him a lot of momentum. But I believe should be able to tag back onto these guys, which will give us, it looks like, 9 trucks here in this lead pack, pending Eric being able to kind of tag back onto this pack here.
Yeah, he had a bit of a double hit on that wall. I'm sure he did a little bit of aero damage. Yeah, he's going to make it back, though.
Yes, I'm watching the interval, and yeah, it looks like it's now just starting to go the right way. The 2 that are right on the edge here of trying to catch this group are the 1 truck of Dave Bingle, the 13 of Kyle Heath. Right now, Kyle's about a 1.5 seconds behind Eric, and I say the timing and scoring is going the wrong way for him a little bit here. It's actually gone to about 1.4 between himself and Eric Laurie, but I say without a big push, I just don't see that momentum happening. So right now, looks like it's going to be a 9-truck lead draft here, I should say, with Sebastian Marion leading the way. Then we got to go about 7 seconds behind Kyle and Dave here to pick up Gaetano Papalardo, as he's again working with his teammate here in that 33, who's right now a lap down, but they're working very well together, saying this is where their goal here is first to catch those 2 trucks in front and then to try to catch that lead pack here. And so actually looking for, trying to see where everybody else is tagged onto this pack here, and it looks like, yeah, so it looks like about 12th to about 21st are all pretty much tucked up in here. So lap time wise though, I should actually, yeah, Gaetano doing a good job here, Quabi. He was about a 10th quicker than leaders that last time by. So again, that's the perks of having that teammate being that second truck behind you, because you're very familiar with one another. But saying this is not going to be what they want, though. You see here goes Todd Siebels, Dean Wilkinson. They're going to jump up top, and I think that's just going to slow this pack down that little bit more. So I feel like they should keep doing what they're doing, because again, that time by right on pace with the leaders. So we'll keep an eye on the lap times and see if this 2x2 does anything for overall pace.
Yeah, I thought the data would mean they would stay together and keep working on it, because now they have the better part of 10 seconds to make up. Obviously, Todd has some different ideas, and I did notice, I think it's Robert DuPont looks like yeah, he has some damage on his truck. He's still able to hold in the draft pretty decently though.
Yeah, a little bit of left rear or right rear spoiler damage, it looks like. But yeah, say as long as the damage is in the back, I think he'll feel pretty confident and be okay with things. Say the other thing that happens usually here, Quabi, is this is where kind of trouble starts to happen though, where that second pack starts to get a little too antsy, starts to push maybe harder than they need to, and that's unfortunate. Where a lot of times you will see that incident with that second pack trying to catch that first pack, because. And actually, I gotta go back because I gotta give a shout out to Kyle Heath, Dave Bingle. They caught that top pack, so actually it's gonna be now an 11 truck draft here for the lead. So well done by those guys to get right back into it as well. I thought they were down and out, but they were able to tag right back on here. So good on them to be able to catch that lead pack once more, and say they're gonna try to, looks like, take that momentum to the top here with that 37 of Keith Horner leading the way. But lap time wise though, Quabi, is kind of what I was afraid of. They dropped about 3 to 4 tenths slower that last time than Sebastian Marin.
Yeah, kudos to them to catching the lead pack, and you're totally right on. You claw back 2 or 3 tenths of a second and then give up 5 when people start running side by side. So that's not a good trade-off. And I do agree there could be some desperate measures taken when people push a little too hard, trying to claw back that time, and there's a crash up front.
Yep, caution is out, so that's going to be what some of those guys are hoping for. And it does include Keith Horner. He's got to be careful, because you're going to see the trucks fly through here in just a moment. So that's one of the perks of maybe being a little bit further off the running order, as yeah, it looks like they're all able to get it woed up there. But yeah, it's going to include the 37 of Keith Horner. Look like the one of Dave Bingle also caught up in this. So unfortunately, the 2 Cornflakes trucks caught up in this one. And we mentioned they were running the outside line there. So like I said, this is a huge break though for those that are in that second pack. And I believe also going to be a huge break for TJ Mashaw. That should put him back onto the lead lap here. Let's go back and see what exactly happened here. It looks like it was around, I believe, Kyle Heath possibly, or actually it looks like around Charles Johnson. So let's back it up here. We'll take a look from, we'll actually watch this one truck in the 37, because they were kind of leading that outside party here as they head through the back stretch. Let me speed it up just a little bit so we can get a good, there's your answer right there. Just, again, push gone wrong. The 13 truck just unfortunately caught the 37, and then, there's where Charles gets involved. Nothing Charles can do. He just gets sent down to the grass. Michael Spell as well. And actually the 13 just about went up and over there as well, but that's indeed what the yellow is for, though, with just that, again, another push gone wrong here. And this time down the straightaway, and that's why I said these trucks they don't push very well, and unfortunately that's what bit some of those guys. Like I said, Charles Johnson, Michael Spell getting a piece of that as well. So this is where now a few of these trucks are going to have a tough decision to make, Quabi, which is going to be fast repair, or opt to try to save that fast repair and go ahead and just get manual damage repairs done to their trucks. So up front, though, probably no strategies here. I think we're just going to go ahead and see these trucks get some fuel, maybe 2 or 4 tires, and they'll get right back out on track here.
Yeah, I think from here it's one stop for everybody. So I think this will be an easy decision for everyone to come in here. Fast repairs, It's been a pretty clean race. I usually like to save my fast repair. I think I'd use it in this case.
Looks like, yeah, long stop for Sebastian. So I think that's decision there is tires and fuel. Looks like Zachary Lima on the same boat there. Say Gary Slipinski, JD Crow, they opted, you know what, we're just going to jump out and go here. And I'm going to say, looks like Michael Spell, I think he kind of do what you said there too, Quab. Just use that fast repair. And looks like also just fuel there. So he's going for track position over manual repairs there. And again, when it's nose damage too, it's a lot more stressful than maybe trying to see if you can stay out and or get it repaired manually, because they'll say nose damage is a lot more sensitive than tailgate damage with these trucks, obviously. So we'll have to keep an eye and see on there. And I think we're going to see a little bit of strategy here. Vicente Guerrero, knowing he was not the lucky dog as that went to TJ Mashaw, he's going to stay out here and try to get his lap back, I think it's just the one lap. Yeah, get his lap back and just take that wave around. Then he's going to have to be banking on another yellow, though, to kind of get back into the thick of things here as well.
Yeah, there's no way he can make it around and get to the pack. But I think it's the right move. It gives him the best chance. And then if he does get caught again, well, he's no worse off than when he started. Assuming, of course, he doesn't need to make an additional pit stop.
Oh, and then to make matters from bad to worse, here the 37 truck caught up in the incident. I think the motor popped on that truck as well. So here's some teamwork here for William McKellar here behind that number 37. He's going to go ahead and just give a push to this to Keith Horner here, try to at least get him into the pit so he doesn't have to take a tow. Because I already say Keith already losing a lap, unfortunately, with the motor popping on that truck. So let's say William already having a tough race himself. He's just going to kind of do that 37 a favor, get him into pit road, allow him to get damage repair, or get a fast repair, I should say, onto his truck. So yeah, say, like I said, tough night for that 75 already, but hats off to him for helping out a fellow competitor.
Yeah, both drivers not having the best of nights suddenly. 37 more recently, so that's a nice gesture.
And so the other thing too that I haven't talked about, Quabi, we mentioned Vicente getting that wave around here. But again, this is all based on him having that initial penalty at the beginning of the race and just was never able to recover from it. So basically, he's going to be about 9 to 10 laps off of the leaders on fuel mileage here. So he can go probably another, I would say, it shows him pitting at lap number 21. So I'd say he can probably go another about 11, 12 laps before he probably has to make his scheduled pit stop. So he's going to have to be rooting for a yellow, unfortunately. So you never want to be in that situation, but that's probably where he's going to be stuck. But he's also not going to be, like I said, on the lead lap here. And then for Keith Horner, that's going to, with him having to take that kind of unofficial tow, he drops to one lap down that 37 truck. So he's going to also need to try to get some help as well. And then for pit strategy, it looks like pretty much all the way to 12th of Jim Brooks opted to go ahead and pit under that yellow. And then from, I believe it is Todd Siebel's on back, topping off on the one to go. As we get back to green, Gary Slipinski and JD Crow leading the field here back to green.
Yeah, the field's a bit strung out on that restart.
Yeah, and that's the dangers of those topping off, is if you're too far in the back, you could lose that main draft. So some of those guys a little further back are going to have to push pretty aggressively to keep up here. As you see, here comes the outside line, though, led by Eric Laurie now with the Ford truck of Scott Ferguson right behind him. And so he's getting a great shove here into turn number 3. He's going to get his nose just ahead, but not enough to clear that 78. And of course, once, as we always say, that inside line going to kind of have the momentum through the turns at shorter distance. Then the question is going to be what that momentum on the outside can do off of 4. And the answer is a lot. He's getting a great push from that Ford truck. It looks like he's going to lead this lap. And so he will get a bonus point in that 071 here, but can't clear that 78 of Gary Slipinski quite yet.
And Vicente is actually in the pack, and the Cornflakes machine, they're all in the pack, so things are coming back together now.
Yeah, great recovery for those guys to get back up. And to say the problem for Vicente was probably working harder than he wanted to try to get back into that lead draft. Again, he's just got to try to take pretty much just use as little fuel as humanly possible. And I'll say right now, this is where the 14 idea do exactly that. You just duck in here to the inside line, get behind that 08 of Bob Fitzgerald, And I think you just save every ounce of fuel you can and just hope that you can maybe do something to get you back on sequence with these guys. But however, up front, though, this is a good opportunity for him because, no, we're going to go back too wide. For just a brief second, it looked like you're going to try to split that 071 of Eric Laurie, but they opt to decide to stay on that 2x2 here. But right now, that inside line definitely is starting to prevail here, and you can see the ground being made up there. Michael Spell's already clear of that group, and now you see Robert Hunt trying to clear as well.
Yeah, that killed all the momentum of the top line there. They were moving forward, and now they're going 3 wide, as you can see. It looks like there's not a lot of collaboration going up there, so the bottom line's going to continue to benefit.
Yeah, so not sure if that was maybe the 4 truck. And that's the thing, too, is you don't know some kind of the situation some of these trucks are going to be in, but here comes a big surge though from that outside line, and Charles Johnson saw it, and he jumped straight to the top to try to join the party there. As you can see, he was about 4th, 5th truck in line on the inside line. He's already jumping to row number 2 here on the outside. Huge push from Gaetano there behind Eric Laurie. That should clear him to the inside should he choose it to. He does. And so now Eric Laurie going to lead that inside lane here with now Charles Johnson to try to see if he can give a push to Gaetano here on that outside in 31.
Yeah, that was a great surge. And it worked rather quickly. I figured they were a lap from being able to make up that deficit, but it shows what a good partnership can do there.
Yeah,
it looks like Gaetano might be next in line.
Yeah, it wasn't clear enough there. But yeah, you're right though. I'd say now Charles kind of returning the favor, trying to shove him up towards the front here. And a lot of these guys, again, one of the things they like to do is try to get that big push, get a lap led, and then from there they're kind of just like, okay, now we're going to kind of settle in and kind of run our own race here. So, and he gets that lap led that time around there as we're on 37 of 75. I believe next time around will be the halfway point in this race. As there you go, Quabi just clears that 071, drops straight to the inside lane, and now it's going to have Charles Johnson and that 4 truck at the moment. But I'm watching Eric Laurie, and nope, not quite enough. I was curious to see he might try to pop up there, but just ran out of time. But look at the momentum off of turn number 2.
Yeah, I'm actually a little bit surprised. I thought Scott Ferguson was kind of going to lay back a little bit more, but that was a nice push, and we'll see if he's really wanting to move Charles to the front, or if he's just content riding up a 4th, 5th position.
Yeah, so what I say, I have a surprise and a non-surprise on that outside line. Say the non-surprise is Maxwell Caldwell trying to work the top and try to get to the front. The surprise, though, is the 51 of Jim Brooks. Usually he's one that just kind of wants to cruise and just stay in the pack, save fuel. But I kind of wonder that we mentioned on that before that previous yellow Quabi, when they were running that second pack, they were just kind of in that cruise control mode, and then that incident that didn't bring out the caution came out, separated themselves from the pack, and they just weren't going to be able to recover until the yellow did come out a while later. I wonder if this is Jim's response and saying, all right, that didn't work for me last time, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to be aggressive here and kind of keep myself, kind of control my own destiny, if you will, in case there is a yellow at some point, or an incident that maybe splits the field up a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's a wise change of pace. It's possible this thing goes caution-free for the remainder, so you don't want the same kind of thing to happen, and you know that there will be, especially these trucks, as you pointed out, some bad bumps, and bad bump doesn't necessarily mean a caution comes out, and then you're left chasing, and you no longer control your own destiny. So if you're in the draft lead pack, even if I don't think he prefers the high line, but it's moving fine. It's not 3 wide. People are running pretty, I think pretty smooth, so he should feel all right for now. But as I'm looking towards the back of the pack, it is a little strung out. If I was towards the rear, I'd be nervous. Looking at your normal commentator, Matt Wagner, he's fine for now, but there is some margin to make up.
And I'm wondering if there's something that I haven't been looking at the fuel numbers too closely, but I am wondering if this is maybe a strategy here, because that caution, they pitted on lap number 30, which put them 45 to the end. And so, like I said, it should be pretty close on fuel. If they can go 22 laps, that would be, like I said, about 45 to the end. So if they can go 23 laps, okay, that's 46. They're good to go. But if they can only go 22 laps, that would actually leave them 1 short here. So I'm wondering if some of these guys, obviously, I think the obvious decisions here are Dean Wilkinson and Todd Siebels. Actually, this group all here on back that opted to top off, just get that little bit of extra fuel. I think they're making their plans known here. and that's to make sure they can one stop it all the way to the end. But you wonder, like these guys up front here, like Gaetano now leading this this lane here, or this race, I should say. Is he maybe going to be running himself out of fuel, where he may not be able to stretch it to the end without a yellow to help his cause?
Yeah, that's a good point. I actually was pretty confident everyone was good to go on just one more stop, except for Vicente, of course. But you may be onto something. Of course, we throw a green light checker, and there can be a lot of nervous people out there.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think on a Sunday, on the Sunday Xfinity cars, yeah, there's no question everybody's good to the end. But again, these trucks, they get about 2 to 3 laps worse fuel mileage than those Xfinity cars. So, and it makes the difference of a normal 75 lap race. I mean, the Xfinity cars, it's a 2-stop race. The trucks here, it's always been a 3-stop race no matter what. So, so we'll have to see. But right now, someone who's not saving any fuel is that number 9 truck of Charles Johnson. He's been able to pick the momentum right back up here. He's got the 4 once again of Scott Ferguson, then Jim Brooks tagging back on, and I'll say Maxwell's kind of fallen off those 3 a little bit here, but I think he'll start to be able to climb himself back up should he choose to. I think it's just trying to figure out where do you want to be here to try to find your way towards the front. And again, there still might be a little bit of fuel strategy as well, where actually, as I said, Maxwell makes a big move there. I saw that opening in front of JD Crow and wasted no time to claim that inside line here. So I think that might be a little bit of a strategy call from those guys to try to get hooked up together.
Yeah, the door was wide open, and he walked right into it. But yeah, the top line is still working pretty well together. I do wonder, going back to the fuel mileage talk, the people that are further behind, like Dean, Matt, etc., they're leaving pretty big gaps, and I feel like that's not going to give you the best possible fuel economy if that's your primary objective. It is good to leave the gaps so you can respond to decelerations, crashes, things like that. So I wonder if they're really optimizing that strategy or not.
Yeah, it's a tough call for where's the right place to put your truck to kind of save the most fuel. I'll say my favorite spot is I've probably a broken record week after week here, but it's right here, Robert DuPont's spot, right outside the 2x2 window, but right towards the front and still tight enough where you're able to really kind of just roll the inside lane and save a little fuel, kind of right where Jack Walls is here as well. So that's kind of my go-to spot if I get the opportunity to have. It'd be just kind of cruising right here where those 2 guys are at here, not having to stress about the 2x2 with the truck to your outside, but still having the ability to run that inside lane, save as much fuel as you possibly can. But as you can see, they're going to come up on that truck there. That's the 13 we mentioned of Kyle Heath here. He's going to jump to the outside. This is where you always get a little nervous for just a little bit as they clear him pretty easily. Oh, but actually right there you see, yeah, Michael Spell just drifted up a teeny bit there, caught that 13 truck. And I think he's going to be okay with it. I think he'll still be able to keep back up to speed and grab the draft here once more. But that's the danger of Daytona, especially that third lane. It's just, especially when you're catching a truck at such a high rate of speed, it's a little tricky to kind of make your move at the right time. And it's also a lot more squeezed than it would be at a Talladega, for instance.
Yeah, and the speed differential, sometimes it works in your favor where you clear the truck quickly and you don't even have to think about it. In that particular case, the speed differential is a little lower, and we do have a truck in the apron letting the group by, so you won't see the repeated history there.
Yeah, that's
low lane.
He's got to be careful though, because he's right on the edge of that bus stop for the Daytona 24. It looks like he'll be okay. Willie McKellar hasn't had a good race. He's just he's definitely been the gentleman of the race though. It's like you said, rolling the apron to let those guys on by, and then also pushing that 37 to prevent him from forcing that tow. But here comes Vicente Quabi. We talked about if he was going to be able to, how far he could go. The answer is 30 to go is as far as he can make it on that 14 truck. So he's going to have, it looks like, well, let's say we talked about some friends and some helpers. Maybe Williams going to tag on here and try to help out Vicente a little bit more, or maybe this was actually Williams' scheduled pit stop as well. Not 100% sure, but he's going to overshoot his pit stall just a little bit there. He's going to have to back it up, unfortunately.
Yeah, he has to hook the cycle out in a good position, but like we talked about earlier, to save his race, he needs a yellow at this point because he still has to pit one more time. Yeah,
and right now, kind of lonely on the outside here is JD Crow. I'm watching Maxwell, and he's been peaking, and I think as soon as he gets the opportunity, I think he's going to hop up in front of that 5 truck and maybe try to lead themselves towards the front here. I think they're just waiting to make that right time make the move at the right time. And yeah, well, I don't know. He keeps faking like he's gonna go, but then he never does. So
Yeah,
actually, it
he's
looks
faking
like
me
he's
out
gonna
several
stay.
times.
Yeah, so I think he can't decide what he wants to do here, or he maybe trying to help his teammate a little bit out to help him try to stay in that ideal position. So you see there goes Willie McKellar leaving pit road there in that 75. But yeah, right now JD Crow still the odd man out here on that outside lane.
Yeah, I think Maxwell might be trying to provide draft for 2 lanes at the same time, perhaps. It's not going to ultimately work out for JD as it drops down to the low line.
Yeah, and it's like he grabbed that opening as soon as it was open before the number 07 of Robert Japan was able to close that door. So good heads up there by JD to squeeze in there. I see a couple trucks. I think they did their fuel saving, and now they're ready to go and try to get some track position before we get to that scheduled pit stop. And those are those 2 that took fuel here, Zachary Lima and Sebastian Marin. They've latched onto one another, and they're starting to make that charge here. And so this is definitely not an unfamiliar sight with these 2 when they've gotten together.
Yeah, I think they'll be at the front, give it about a lap, and it should be where you want to be. Probably going to be a good thing for Daytona, who's been at the point for a really long time, and it has to be costing him a lap and a half by now, which could put him out of the window.
Yeah, and that's my concern for him as well, is to see, is he in the window? You would think that if he knew he wasn't going to make it, he would just roll on out, but like I said, this might open up his opportunities to just go ahead and start to go full fuel save. But I mean, look, it's a half a lap at this point, and they've gone from about almost in the high teens, maybe even in the 20s, to get into now the second, third positions here, now going for the front row here of that 31 truck. So that's just how well these guys work together. They're about over a second quicker that last time by. And it looks like they've brought a few friends along as well there. You can see the 27 obviously in the 23, but I say Charles Johnson is going to waste no time to jump into that party as well.
Charles Johnson, he likes a fast train when he sees one. He saw one, so he's going to be a part of it. I think I estimated a lap. Yeah, that was definitely not generous enough. Those guys are very quick.
It took about a solid lap for them to get from the back to the tie for the lead here. And now here comes that momentum we talk about off of turn number 4. Just a nose ahead for Sebastian there at the line. But again, not quite enough to clear here. And so I think that will be the goal for these guys out of turn number 2. Because again, the outside line really prevails on the exit of 2. Is, of course, to say the shorter distance always going to be better through the turns. And so you get that tri-oval to kind of help their cause as well. But here off of 2, this is where things really start to open up for that outside line. You're going to see these 2 here make a big charge towards the front. As you can see, that Nesquik starting to get a little further up here, but a great push Eric Laurie here. I'll say he's not going to give up on this inside line, and this is where strategy comes in too, Quabi. If you're that inside line, if you can fight off that outside lane and force them to stay up top there, you get close enough to that pit stop window, that's going to make them have to drop down to the inside and maybe have to back it down and find a spot to drop in here. So I think that's also the goal for this inside line. It's like, hey, if we want to win this race here, we got to keep those guys pinned up on the outside.
Yeah, early in the race, you'll see people allowing people to drop to the low line to get to the pit road. For the last pit stop, yeah, it might not be so easy. And if you have to drop to the back to get down, you're losing 3 seconds right there.
Yeah, exactly right. See, starting to come up in front of the leaders here again, unfortunately. Just exactly what Vicente's not been looking for, having the traffic right there. But say BK Anderson, he's popped in here out of all of a sudden and say, I think he is numerous laps down. I don't even think he made the grid of this race, but is able to hop on track here now at least. Saying, yeah, 38 laps down. So, but right now, definitely Vicente's best friend that's been helping his chances to, again, try to stay on that lead lap because he's got a pretty solid pack coming his way. But what could save him here, Quabi, is, again, they've got a couple seconds on those guys, but we're at 24 to go. So that pit window will be opening probably in the next 2 to 3 laps where I think some of these guys are going to have to pit. And others might be choosing to try to stretch another lap or 2 if they get the opportunity.
Yeah, so Vicente, he's hoping for obviously the yellow, and pit stops sometimes can cause some collisions here and there. But often in iRacing, if you're off on the low line, hitting the pits, you may not see the yellow. So I don't like his odds still, but kudos to him for being out there and using any means necessary, as we see. Robert.
Oh yeah. Early pit stop for Robert Japan here, and also on his own, coming at 23 to go. And I think this is realistically outside the window. You never want to be coming in on your own either. So this is going to be a tough spot for Robert here. We'll have to keep an eye and see where he blends back in with the field. But say you never want to have that draftless pit stop because especially when you're the first to hit pit road, because then you worry about fuel, but then you also worry about that up to speed lap. It's going to be a lot slower than these guys who are, they're going to kind of try to come in together here as a pack.
He has that damage he's been carrying too, so he's going to be a little bit down on top speed, potentially, maybe marginally, but still comparatively. So there's a couple of things working against him there. So hopefully he somehow makes the most of it, but that's a tough one as we see more cars pitting now. Sorry.
Yeah, this is kind of what we expected. We figured if anybody was going to be Gaetano the first to hit pit road, he's going to bring Scott Ferguson, Dave Bingle, and Bob Fitzgerald along with him, Keith Horner as well. And so that's going to now cycle things over to Sebastian Marin and Zachary Lima on the outside line, but cannot quite clear that 32 and the 14 on the inside line. So Eric Laurie, kind of the effective leader of the inside lane, and saying this kind of, again, might be throwing the strategy for those Dale Cup guys a little bit awry here, because now they are pinned up on the outside line. Again, they pitted on lap number 31. We're at 22 to go, so that fuel window, say it's going to be very close when they're going to have to start to hop in. And you see right here, look at Jim Brooks there. He had to find an opening there. I think Todd Siebel's let him on in. 33 is trying to find an opening here as well. And yeah, here they come. A few more trucks going to hit pit road, led by Eric Laurie. You got Charles Johnson. You've got Gary Slapinski there, Maxwell Caldwell, JD Crow, Matt Wagner. They're all going to hit pit road here, coming to 21 to go. So that's still, I think they can make it from here, but again, it's still going to be on the tight side. So I think these guys here, I think advantage is really going to go to these trucks here that have stayed out, from Sebastian Marin in first all the way back to Robert Rock in ninth. I think this is where you want to be. At this point, 20 laps is no problem. There will be zero fuel save if they need to go full tilt to the end.
Yeah, Charles Johnson had to work pretty hard to get down to the inside lane too.
And TJ Machado, I think he's run out of fuel there, Quabi. He was entering turn number 3, and he went straight to the top, but made a great call there. As soon as that truck started to sputter, he moved out. And yeah, he's going to drop to the apron. So I was saying that's going to bring all of these guys here to pit road for the remainder for their final scheduled pit stops. As again, say you never see a slow pit stop out of Zachary Lima or Sebastian Marin. They definitely got a great entry. They got Jim Brooks, Michael Spell, Todd Siebels, Robert Rock, Dean Wilkinson. Dean overshoots his pit stall just a tiny bit there. We'll see if that. As does Michael Spell. Those little mistakes can cost you the draft, so that's going to be a very, very close thing to keep an eye on. And then now it's just going to be kind of who can get lined up together here on this pit exit as best as possible.
Looks like Jack Wall should be close enough to keep the draft with Sebastian and Zach Lima.
Yeah, I think we're going to have pretty much from Zachary Lima to about, who's that, Robert Rock. I think they'll be in a safe spot to keep this main pack here. So we'll see. They'll say the question is going to be also Gary Slapinski, because here he comes with a pretty big head of steam. He's going to start picking these guys off one by one. But I believe Gary, I'm not sure if he has any help with him or not. Actually, yeah, it looks like he's got Maxwell Caldwell leading that outside lane. So he's starting to work these guys over here as they start to build up speed. But I'm going to say advantage right now, sticking with that 27-23. I mean, they are tandeming for all they're worth, just trying to break that draft up behind them. Because it is about a second to Jack here, but it's just going to be too much for them to try to make up. But it's a gaggle behind those guys.
Yeah, despite green flag stops, everyone's pretty much coming back out together. It's going to converge again, which is just testament to the skill of these guys and the amount of practice they do hitting the pit stalls right. Even with the bobbles, you see they're getting on and off pit road so quickly that you just can't find any separation. Hard to find an advantage out here.
Yeah, the one thing I am noticing though, you look at that front of the 83 of Jack Walls' truck. He's got some nose damage to that truck, so that's going to be one of those situations where he's probably fine as a pusher, but you don't want him leading that pack, and that's kind of what he's got for the inside line here. And so I think that's going to really start to push this outside line here. As you can see, Jim Brooks there, just for a moment, I think Gary Slapinski thought about trying to go 3 wide there. But it looks like they are going to tag back on here, but I'm watching Dean Wilkinson here. He has a great opportunity here to hop up in front of his teammate. There he goes, as he's going to try to see if he can, if these two TW Motorsports guys can try to pick on these Dale Cup guys here, as we're now at 18 to go. And I'm saying at this point, fuel mileage and all that stuff is out of the question. These guys are just going to try to outright win this race.
In the lap prior, there's a checkup in the upper lane. Looks like Maxwell Charles, and then eventually got to JD Crow, who had to take evasive action onto the apron. I don't think didn't look like it cost anyone. They're all still together. But I think you might see more of that as people jockey for position.
Yeah, you're definitely right there. And so I'll say right now it's still the 27-23 leading the way on that inside line. And saying there's that 33, unfortunately, say running out of gas there for the 33. TJ Mashad just tried to go one lap too many, as that's going to put him down a lap right here in that 33, unfortunately. And then those that lost the draft out of this pit stop cycle, Quabi, including Scott Ferguson, the 4, Bob Fitzgerald, Robert DuPont, and Dave Bingle. We mentioned we were concerned about Robert pitting that lap early, and I said that's exactly what happened. That difference coming in that one lap early by himself, coming out by himself, that's costing this lead pack here. So right now we've got, it looks like a solid 15 trucks here that are in contention for this win, with 17 to go, 16 at the line. But I say now it's just going to all be about kind of that gamesmanship and try to figure out where do you want to position yourself to have your best chance to win this race. And eventually these guys are going to start to stop being as patient in that middle to outside lane, and you're going to see that third lane form. But I think they're going to wait probably a little longer before they start to push that final third lane there and try to get these wins here.
Yeah, there's an invitation for Slipinski to take the middle lane.
Yeah, and that's
the bottom lane's open now.
Yeah, and that's a tough spot for where Jim Brooks was there. He was trying to stay right behind the 45 and the 55, and they drifted up a little bit. Jim followed them up there, and then I think they realized they opened up too much space, cut straight back down, and by the time Jim had any chance to react, Gary was already there, so he just got pinned to the outside lane. So he's going to drop back here, probably right around Eric Laurie, Matt Wagner. But say the best thing he's got going for him is that he's still got a truck in one piece here. But yeah, definitely not what he was looking for there to have a chance at. So you always want to be as furthest forward as you can. He was in a good spot there behind those 2 TW Cup guys on the outside, or sorry, TW Motorsports guys. I'm mixing up team names here. Is in a good spot, but yeah, now it's Gary Slipinski sitting in that third truck on the outside lane.
Yeah, and Jim Brooks and JD Crowe almost made contact there. Both got away with it, and
we got contact.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was close to say, because here comes that third lane. Earlier than I thought it might happen, but it's going to happen here. You got Maxwell Caldwell pushing that 78 of Gary Slipinski, and you see immediately the 55. He drops down to the bottom there once he saw the opening, and it's going to put Todd Siebels in a pretty tough spot here out of 4. But right now the outside line inside line, is still prevailing, because that outside line has really fizzled out pretty quickly. I think just again from kind of losing that connection that they had there, just with everybody starting to get a little bit antsy and start jockeying around, and really slow those 2 lanes up.
Yeah, it's a small miracle it wasn't a crash there. Initially or in the aftermath, looks like the drivers have sorted it all out now. But yeah, like you said, we're going to see more of this. People changing lanes, getting the third lane established, and nose will get chopped, and spin will happen. So let's see if everyone can keep it together.
Yeah, and for just a brief moment, I thought Dean was going to try to hop back up in front of Todd Siebels and kind of go round 2 with those guys, but actually it's Todd that gets a great push out of turn 2 through turns 3 and 4 now, as well as he's getting right to the side of Zachary Lima, as he's getting great pushing from Gaetano Papalardo. And again, we've seen how good of a push that 31 truck is. You see also Gary, he's been able to recover now, hop back up to that second groove behind Charles Johnson now in about the 8th position here. So say definitely we know to expect to see that the 78 and the 94 to work that third lane at some point. And at some points now, Quabi, he's going to go right back after there. I say, because at this point again, as these laps get closer, these guys are going to that antsiness is going to ramp up, and we'll see if they can make that third lane happen this time around.
Yeah, it looks like we still have some people in the back taking it relatively easy. They have a few more laps of that. Matt and Michael Speller, they appear to be enjoying the view at the moment, as we have a lap truck on the apron.
Yeah, that was the 37 of Keith Horner. New there, 3x3, he dropped straight to the apron, so definitely hats off to Keith there for giving them the space here. So we're hopped on board here with Maxwell Caldwell, and they've gotten up to the outside of Todd Siebels here. But again, it's just while these guys are fighting tooth and nail in that middle and the outside line, I think it's allowing the inside lane just to, I wouldn't say relax, but I think it's made life just that little bit easier for him, because it's allowed Zachary Lima to stay pretty content on the outside lane, or on the inside lane. I'm sorry, but man, these guys are starting to squeeze each other a lot harder here through the turns, and So it doesn't take much for contact, especially we've seen netcode from time to time as well. So these guys have to be careful not to get too aggressive on that side drafting.
Yeah, exactly. The side draft is nice until until someone gets put into the wall. So yeah, there's cars that are wandering a little bit, shall we say, and sometimes people go for the same real estate, and it's getting a little nervous out there.
Yeah, there's definitely much temptation, but again, that third lane, you can see these guys will say, we'll go from the side view here and say now you can see the 78, he gets alongside. They are 3x3x3 here. Just a nose ahead there for Gary Slipinski entering turn number 3. But again, he's got that third lane, but you see, Maxwell gets a little bit of a bump, and there's the contact we were worried about right in front of Eric Laurie, Matt Wagner, Michael Spell all getting a piece of it. That's going to bring out the caution. And unfortunately, I think just kind of an accordion effect there with Maxwell. Kind of just got a little off-centered from Gary Slipinski. And then just unfortunate with the backup there. I think that's what brought the 5 of JD Crow into him. So that's going to bring us a yellow here with 10 to go. We're going to go back, take one more look.
While you look at that, Vicente, Scott, Dave, and Bob, and Robert DuPont, great break for those guys.
Yeah, puts them back into, and I think also if Keith Horner is able to avoid the incident there, I think that may be, actually no, I'm sorry, it'll be TJ Mashaw as long as he wasn't involved. He'll be the lucky dog, but we'll go back. We're going to take one more look at this here, because it was right at the very front of this thing. And I'm going to watch it from the point of view of JD Crow here. So we're going to hop on the roof, because what we're going to see is we'll pick up the speed just a little bit, but we're going to see just for a split second there, you can see Maxwell again trying to push, and right there you saw that little push off center. You can see that 78 truck get a little loose, and then the 94 has to react. He slows down, but unfortunately Maxwell just lost all the momentum at that point. And then, unfortunately, just right into the path of Eric Laurie. Nowhere for Eric to go. You see Matt Wagner. He's trying to check up, but Michael Spell, same thing, just gets into the back of him. And they both kind of just all pile in together. And then, luckily for Jim, being on the inside lane, he's able to kind of just make that sharp left, avoid all those guys. So that's going to put us under yellow here. So we'll jump back live because not a lot of strategy. I think we're just going to see the trucks pretty much involved in the incident. JD Crow, Eric Laurie, all hopping in, Matt Wagner, Maxwell Caldwell. So, and like I said, a huge break for some of these guys like Vicente. This is Vicente's first real chance to be in the thick of this thing now. So he's going to have a chance now finally to recover. It's pretty much taken him the entire race to do so in that 14 truck. And then mentioned for the lucky dog, TJ Mashaw, there he goes. That puts him back onto the lead lap. That is going to give us 21 trucks back onto the lead lap. As again, inside single digits now here, and that fuel questions, I think now only is going to possibly apply here if we get any green-white checkers.
Yeah, and not only did I get Vicente back into the pack, right? He can make his free pit stop because he was the only one that couldn't make it on fuel for sure that we were tracking. So he's all topped off now. And you're right, everybody else, if anyone was close, no longer a problem. So it's going to be a hard race to the finish now.
Yeah, so now it's definitely. So we were talking about being aggressive before. Now it's even going to be more so. As you see, Matt Wagner in the 11 truck looks like damage is repaired. So probably a fast repair taken on that 11 truck as well. So pretty much 11th on back for them. It could be all 3 green light checkers. They'd be fine. They have the fuel to the end. From Jim Brooks on up, they're good to the end. Good for maybe 1, maybe 2 green light checkers, but after that, things could get a little touchy. So that's where again the strategy calls come into play here is track position versus fuel. You just never know what's going to be the right call. But one big break that's going to happen here for these Dale Cup guys, you got Zachary Lima leading, but you got on the 3rd position who's going to restart right behind him is Sebastian Marin. So these guys will be able to stay locked onto each other here on this restart. As say Todd Siebel is going to have a new partner on the outside lane with Gary Slipinski, at least for the time being.
Yeah, that's a great break. And of course, people are not going to be able to work their way through the field like they were early in the race. Inches aren't going to be given away. Lanes aren't going to be given away. So, track position all of a sudden easy to come by early in the race. It's going to be hard to get. And I have a feeling we're going to see 3 wide before the backstretch.
Yeah, and that's gonna be the question: is who's gonna make the move, when, and from what position? Because you can't make it too early. Like I feel like Gary Slapinski, I think where he's at right now, sitting in fourth, his best move at the moment is probably just to push Todd Siebels for all he's worth. Because if he jumps to the outside line, look right behind him, who's he got there? And he's got Todd Siebels' teammate of Dean Wilkinson. So I think it's going to be in Gary's best interest, in my opinion, to stay with Todd Siebels for as long as he can. Maybe try to jump if he sees that third lane forming, then hop in front of him and try to be that leader of the third lane. But he's going to probably have to find some opportunity to get up there. But I don't think he's going to be the one to initiate it, because, like I said, if your options are jumping up with the 78 truck or staying behind your teammate in the 45, I think all day we know where Dean Wilkinson's going.
Yeah, exactly. And these allegiances are pretty tight, so I don't think you're going to see people leaving any of their teammates out to dry, because, well, guess what? If you want to race with them next time, they're going to remember that. Yeah,
exactly right. So you see the pace car is in, green flag is out, as it's going to be again front row Zachary Lima and Todd Siebels. With Sebastian Marin right away tagged onto the back bumper of that 27 truck as they head into turn number 1. But already you can see how much more of an inside line push that we've got. And it's actually going to be possibly Gaetano Papalardo who can jump to the outside should he choose to. But that outside line just has not gotten established like the inside lane has. So right now, Gaetano, he's got the opportunities here should he choose to, if he wants to lead that outside lane. At the moment, opted to stay down. There he goes. He's waiting for the right time to do so. Now he's going to try to lead that middle groove here against those Dale Cup guys on the inside.
Yeah, for a second there, he had a pretty good line on the inside, not much on the outside, but now it's 2x2 the whole way deep. Who's going to be the first taker for row number 3?
I'll say, again, I still think Gary Slapinski's in a tough position, because I think he's going to get dropped if he does. Well, actually, no, I'm sorry, because I'm looking for Dean Wilkinson. He's actually gotten to the inside lane behind Robert Rock there in the 171. So we'll see what that can do. So I think that actually opens up the opportunities for Gary, where he's got Matt Wagner now behind him. I mean, Charles Johnson, he's never been shy to run that third lane or the outside line if he's got the opportunity to as well. So right now, though, I think you got to wait for that third lane, because just the second line hasn't even gotten to Zachary yet. So I don't think you really want to make that move until you start to actually get up alongside and really build that momentum up. So right now, I think this is probably his best bet. He knows where the momentum is. To say, Gary's been around this stuff for a long time. He knows what moves to make and win. And I think he knows this isn't quite the right time to do so. But here comes Charles Johnson peeking out there, so we'll see if he takes the bait from that number 9 truck, as we got 5 to go.
He has no help at the moment. He's still actually moving his way up a little bit. Looks like Matt Wagner might be backing out of it. And Gary he took a peek up high. Maybe not the right time yet.
I saw Scott Ferguson looking out a little bit further back. I think he wants to try to get that third lane rolling as well. And I say Jim Brooks, he's popped up. I think he saw the 4 coming. He wants to make sure he doesn't get blocked off there as well. And I think that's what it's going to be, is you're just going to see, as that outside lane starts to grow, more and more trucks are going to start to get tempted to do it. But it's got to build the momentum first. And I think the big thing that the 78 is looking for is the 94 of Maxwell Caldwell. Those two are working very well together before that yellow came out. So I think that's going to be the combo that these guys are going to be looking for here as we got 4 to go.
So it looks like lane 3, try 1 did not work. Here comes try 2 with JD Crow.
And JD Crow's not a bad opportunity as well there. And I think we'll probably see Maxwell, I would think, hop up with him once he gets the opportunity to. But like I said, though, he's going to, as more and more trucks do it, there's going to be more and more trucks that want to jump out there. And there, like I said, there goes Matt Wagner. I knew he would at some point want to be up there leading that pack if he got the opportunity to. And here comes that third lane. I say, because the 31 here of Gaetano, he's gotten just a nose ahead there. And now it's Matt Wagner leading that third lane with the 94 of Maxwell Caldwell behind him, as we're going to be coming around this time to 3 to go.
There's some pretty tight side drafting between Zachary and Gaetano, and I thought they were going to touch, and wow, Matt's making a nice move, push by Maxwell. So he's in a good spot at a good time. He might clear them.
Not quite, just a little bit off. You can see this is where you got to be careful, though. You see Matt there was giving a little bit too much room there, and you can see how Maxwell was about a half a truck lower, wanting to kind of keep it pinned down there. And that's the risk versus reward. You want to pin these guys as much as you can to help your own momentum. But then if you do too much, obviously you make contact. So that's allowed the momentum now to shift to that 31 truck for the moment here. But again, at this point, it's anybody's guess because right now we're pretty much 3x3. It looks like four rows deep here. Let's say, but again, we still got a couple laps to go here, 2 to go at the line, but we're not gonna get there. There goes the 27 round. Actually, we stayed green because it's off the racing surface. And I saw another driver head through the pit road there at pretty ridiculous speeds there. Oh, that was Dean Wilkinson. But we do stay green. It's Matt Wagner with just a nose ahead right now. But again, we still got 2 laps to go here, so a yellow still would put us into green-white checkered territory. And there's Matt. Got in the wall. He's up into the outside wall. Now we got. I think we're gonna have a caution. We got trucks everywhere here, and there's the caution flag. And it looks like I think only 2 trucks come through this, mostly unscathed. That's gonna be Gary Slipinski, Charles Johnson. I think everybody else here on back got at least a piece of it. So we talked about the fuel concerns here, Quabi. That's going to put us into that green-white checker territory, which actually, I'm looking at the 08 of Bob Fitzgerald. That truck looks awful clean, and he topped off on that yellow. Bob could be in the catbird seat if things go on. Look at Vicente Guerrero, Quabi. He's now up into that 6th spot.
Yeah, never giving up. I think a lot of these trucks will have no fuel issue because they have some damage to repair, and they're going to put fuel into the truck.
All right, so we're going to go back. We're going to look at a couple of these incidents here. So the first is going to be involving Zachary Lima, because I got to see what happened to him. And then also it included, I believe, of Dean Wilkinson as well, because I think I saw him go flying through the pits, or through the grass, I should say. So let's go back to Zachary Lima here to start off. All right, so we're watching that 27 truck. And actually, actually looks like a lot of net code there, and then they bounce off each other, and that sends Zachary down to the infield. Also, a little bit of a shot for the 23, Sebastian Marin. So there goes the 27 down into pit road area. But then Dean Wilkinson, he gets a piece of this as well, and you can see he just gets thrown straight through the pits. Tries to avoid the pit cone there. I say that usually admins will clear those because it was unintentional. But then you can see everybody else here trying to recover. You see Sebastian Marin right back into the thick of this as well. And then everybody's the momentum was lost. So everybody starts to get even more wild here. But then we'll see where the next incident comes from. And I think it probably kicks off right there. You see Matt Wagner. He gets up into the outside wall there. And then right behind him, I'm watching Maxwell Caldwell. And actually, let's see. Where does this all kick off? So first there's contact between the 11 and the 4 truck of Scott Ferguson. But then in front of these guys, there's another incident. Oh, actually, it's the 5. Let me go back here of JD Crow, because it's basically 2 separate incidents at the same time nearly. So let's go back. I'm going to slow it down here a little bit and get one more view of it. It actually looks like it may have just been contact with Charles Johnson and JD Crow. And I think, once again, just unfortunately off-centered there. That sends the 5 in front of the 9, the 31, and then saying actually Gary Slipinski has some pretty significant rear end damage to the rear spoiler of that truck. And then behind them it looked like Maxwell was going to clear. He gets caught up in that as well. And then these guys all in the back here, just nowhere for everybody to go here. All just kind of getting piled in there. Actually looks like Bob Fitzgerald actually did get a pretty good piece of damage from that as well. Got into the back of the 94. So, all right. I think I've done about as much as I could do there, probably, to go through things, because eventually we got to get back to this race here. Pretty much we had 4 trucks not pit here. We've got Gary Slipinski, Charles Johnson, who haven't pitted since their green flag pit stop at 54, if I'm not mistaken. Bob Fitzgerald, Michael Spell pitting at laps 66 and 65, so basically under that previous yellow. And then Jim Brooks on back here pitting under this yellow. I think these are guys using the fast repairs if they had them. And so, so now the question mark is going to be some of these trucks with damage. I mean, Michael Spell's got pretty significant nose damage to that 88 truck, and looks like actually he's going to drop on in here. Bob Fitzgerald, I think a little bit of nose damage. But then we talked about that rear end damage to the 9 and the 78. So this is going to be a big question mark, because who has what. Todd Siebel's right back into the mix here as well, and that's in the 45. Robert Rock's right back again. So it's it's going to be interesting. This is going to be green-white checkered attempt number 1. Front row is going to be Gary Slipinski, Charles Johnson. Row 2, Bob Fitzgerald and Sebastian Marin, I believe. No, actually, looks like Jim Brooks going to be outside row 2. And then Sebastian Marin and Todd Siebel. So So everybody's trying to get themselves situated here, but yeah, I think just the way that whole incident kicked off, I say there's a lot of guys in a lot of odd spots, but I think the one who got the worst out of all of that, though, in my opinion, is going to be Zachary Lima. As he's got spun to the inside, no yellow, and I think looks like got trapped a lap down after all that.
Yeah, I was trying to go through all the replay to see what trucks didn't get tore up, and actually TJ Mashaw, he didn't really get involved, but he looks like he elected to pit anyways. Bob made it through. Bob Fitzgerald made it through there pretty unscathed. But yeah, the two trucks up front, they have some pretty bad rear end damage, and I just don't know how that's going to work for them.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. And unfortunately, we do have a handful of drivers that are out of the race after that incident, including Maxwell Caldwell. Looks like Keith Horner. I think JD Crow, Dave Bingle as well. So actually looks like Matt Wagner still sitting in pits as well. So not the nights those guys were looking for. They're right in the thick of it, but just unfortunately, as these races kind of come to the end, at times it gets a little bit rough. And but up front here, say pace car is about to duck off. So again, green white checker attempt number 1. If they get to the white flag from then on, they will race it out. However, if there's a yellow, we have 2 more attempts. But man, the inside line has not got going. That 08 truck had a little bit of tire spin actually. That's going to allow Jim here and Charles Johnson to have a good chance to take a push here into 1.
Yeah, I don't know how Jim's going to push Charles's truck. There's no bumper to push, but he's trying.
And so you just got to push what's there.
Yeah. Just hope it doesn't bend any further.
Yeah, exactly right. So right now Charles is just a nose ahead, and actually I think now Charles, I believe, actually clears that 78 truck, and he does. Jim not quite clear yet, so Charles has the option. Does he want to drop low, stay high? He's going to choose to stay high for the moment, as here comes that third lane being led by Dean Wilkinson as well. So we got a big wreck. Jim's up and over. We got, again, a huge wreck out of turn number 4. We got trucks flying everywhere there. Well, to see what exactly happened. But once again, I think Gary Splinsky, Charles Johnson, again, the only 2 basically to come through unscathed once more, which is going to put us now to attempt number 2. And that makes that fuel concern even greater here. But once again, we got to go back and see what happened, because that seemed like that came out of nowhere and in a massive way. Alright, so we're watching here through 3 and 4. And trying to see where this all kicks off here. It might be the 08's my best guess, because it happened right... Oh, actually, no. A little bit of net code, actually, it looks like, I believe, between the 14 and the 45. And that hooks the... right hooks the 08 into the 51. He goes up and over here. And saying, again, a lot of these trucks had used their fast repair too, Quabi. So this is going to be probably night over for a handful. Sebastian Marin looks like he's got a little bit of nose damage, but gets through. But I mean, look at this. I don't think I've ever seen that many trucks flying through the air at the same time. I think the 30. We'll go back and we'll watch from the 32 here of BK Anderson, because he probably had the craziest view of that from behind these guys. But yeah, I mean, before we go to that though, the drivers that survived this though, I believe is going to be pretty much Gary Slapinski, Charles Johnson once again. I think again Sebastian Marin maybe a little bit of nose damage to his truck. Yeah, I don't think there's anybody that's left in a good spot here. So I'm going to go back and do what I said here. Is I want to see what BK Anderson saw there, because that was probably one of the craziest wrecks I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, more retirements are coming for sure. Yeah, we'll see who's left over.
All right, you can see the contact here. You can already see the 51 start to go up and over from a distance. But then, as again, you wait just a little bit, and you're going to start to see more and more trucks start to catch air here as he gets closer to it. And man, yeah, there's Robert Rock. You can see actually, I think, getting flung backwards here off the catch fence. Then you see the 51 up and over. I'm trying to see who else is in there. I think that's Steve Krosick. Or not, sorry, it's not Steve Krosick. The 27 of Zachary Lima. And then who's the... Oh, the 14 of Vicente Guerrero. Was finally got back up front. Then he gets looped up and over as well. So, once again, just massive hits for these guys. So, my fuel... I've got fuel question marks now, Quabi, for these guys here. The 78 and the 9. And then it's just going to be kind of the damage question mark. Sebastian Marin, Gaetano Papalardo. Like, I don't think there's anybody with real clean truck at this point in this race here. I'm looking at Michael's spell, and you know what? Nope, I'm lied. Michael's got some pretty significant nose damage as well. I wasn't sure if he was able to use a fast repair there. So yeah, we're going to have, it looks like probably about a 7-truck shootout for the win here. Because right now, I believe, let's see, actually, I think Dean Wilkinson, he stays on the lead lap. Scott Ferguson, Quabi, I'm looking at that 4 truck looks awful clean. He is on the lead lap here.
It's the nicest looking truck out of the group, I think.
Is that enough for him to have a chance to win this race from the 9th position on this restart? I think TJ Mashaw also on the lead lap, but that truck is in rough shape as well. So, yeah, this is going to be very interesting. The one thing Gary's got going for him right now is he's got a great pusher of Sebastian Marin. However, Charles Johnson's got a great pusher of that 31 of Gaetano Papalardo. But right now, I mean, look at this. You got 5 trucks here coming through turn 2 here. Everybody else just trying to find somewhere to get some damage repairs and try to get back out on track here, which is going to have a pretty big single file line here on this inside lane. So definitely one of the wilder finishes of this season that we've had here with Area 51. Again, attempt number 2, I still have a little bit of question marks. I'm a little nervous about fuel still for Gary and Charles here because again, they have not pitted since lap number 54. And we've already crossed the 75 mark here. So, I mean, Quabi, they're past 20 laps since they last pitted, even with the yellows.
Yeah, they're not driving the most aerodynamic machines anymore either. So, I have the same question marks you do. At this point, I don't think they're going to pit. They may look around if there's another yellow and see that there's only 6 or 7 trucks to contend with. You might as well get in there, get some fuel on board. But they're obviously not pitting now. Roll the dice and see how it goes.
Yeah, exactly right. I'd say that at this point they got to roll the dice. And like I said, I mean, I'm watching Scott Ferguson. He's laying back a fair bit. I'm a little nervous. He might actually have to pit, so he might put himself out of contention here right off the bat. Now it looks like he is going to get going here, so we'll see. But look at this right here. All the damage. You got 4 trucks here just breaking away right now. Everybody else hopefully trying to keep up with the draft. But yeah, here comes Scott Ferguson. He's just blowing by all these guys. The problem is, though, is that too little too late because he's already starting to lose the pack from these guys about a second back here. So his best bet is see if he can try to pick up some help from those guys behind him. But unfortunately, he might even get a realistic chance to try to catch these guys. So I'm going to watch to see his interval if he's able to catch these two packs of 2 here. And he is starting to gain a little bit. So I'm going to watch Scott Ferguson. He might be the dark horse in this final 2 laps here. But right now, though, it's kind of a 2x2 race here to see who can get to the line first between Charles Johnson, Gary Slapinski, Sebastian Marin, and Gaetano Papalardo.
Yeah, there's some wounded warriors out here. Scott, if he has the horsepower and the... Oh,
Gary Slapinski just takes a sharp left onto pit road here. I'm not sure what's going on. These guys are all backing off like it's over. Charles Johnson's off here as well. Did they run out of fuel or not? Here's the 23 and the 4 here through 1 and 2. Now it's Sebastian Marin leading Scott Ferguson. Scott Ferguson, he's going to try to jump up top here, see if he can get the push that he needs. We got Bob Fitzgerald. He's right into the thick of this as well. Everybody's starting to squeeze each other once again and say there may be 4 or 5 trucks, but they're all going after it. And right now, like I said, Quabi, that one truck that looks in the best shape is Scott Ferguson as he takes the lead entering turn number 3 for the final time.
Well, he finds himself in a great situation suddenly. 2 trucks peeling off. Possibly due to fuel. I don't think Sebastian has anything to get him. Let's see. They're coming to the line.
As he's going to try to side. It's going to be close. He's going to side. Here comes Bob as well. Sebastian's going to get the push from Gaetano at the very end.
Wow.
Somehow Sebastian Marin, he finds once again a way to get the win here tonight at Daytona. Behind him, Scott Ferguson going to finish in second. Bob Fitzgerald's going to grab a 3rd place in that 08 truck. And Gaetano Papalardo probably going to be the favorite and the most hated driver by a couple of these guys getting the win. But I think, man, I'm more than a little. I'm very confused there with Charles and Gary there at the end there. I mean, I got to think it's the fuel mileage at the end that's what's done it for them. You see, yeah, here's Charles. He's still trying to just coast that truck there. But yeah, so I was worried about the field numbers, and I was actually, for once, I was right about the field numbers being iffy. But Man, I wasn't sure Sebastian was going to have any momentum to try to get there, but he's once again finds a way to snag a win here tonight.
Yeah, great moves with a wounded truck. Got some help as you need in this kind of race. And yeah, I thought, I was concerned about fuel as well. I thought they were going to make it a little bit further. Coming to the white flag, Gary Slipinski pulled off to the pits. I don't know if that was like a last ditch effort to get fuel, but he was not going to make the speed limit. That's for sure.
No,
and Charles was obviously in it for the long haul, and he'll make it eventually.
Yeah, maybe a frustration, kind of a pit there at the end, but yeah, definitely one of the wilder ones we've had here tonight. But what we do have, though, is we still got to talk to some drivers here. And we're going to have to kick things off with that 08 truck, our third place finisher. Actually, before we get to all that, I'm sorry, I'm jumping the gun here. We got to pull up our final results for tonight. And it's going to be Sebastian Marin getting the win over Scott Ferguson by about, again, just 24,000th of a second. Bob Fitzgerald in third, Gaetano Papalardo. Michael Spell with a very damaged truck still brings home a top 5 himself. Then you got Eric Laurie in 6th, and then from 7th on back, drivers 8 lap or more down, including Charles Johnson, Gary Slipinski, Dean Wilkinson, TJ Mashaw 2 down, Vicente Guerrero. These guys are 4 more laps down. Quabi, again, the attrition just insane tonight. Vicente Guerrero, Todd Siebels, Robert DuPont, Robert Rock, Jack Walls, Jim Brooks, Zachary Lima, and William McKellar. And then, as I was saying, we'll continue on here because we've still got more to go through. You got Dave Bingle, JD Crow, Matt Wagner, Maxwell Caldwell, Keith Horner, Kyle Heath, BK Anderson, Randy Miner, and saying Gabe Butler, as like I said, I think wasn't able to make it tonight, but honestly, I say if there's a night to miss, this may have been the one for it because that was definitely a wild one tonight. So now we got to do those. Let's go ahead and find some drivers to chat with. And we're going to kick it off with that number 08 of Bob Fitzgerald.
I wasn't able to find Bob.
He should be around here somewhere. Usually he's here unless he's trying to hide from me. Let's see. I think he snuck off before I had a chance to pull him in here. So, yeah. Unfortunately, it looks like
Scott ran off too, I believe.
All right, well, it's been a wild one, so I guess nobody's wanting to be interviewed. So I guess that means we're just gonna have to go straight to our race winner here tonight. This might be one of those ones where it's like, you know what, this isn't one I want to remember. So we're gonna grab, we'll go straight to our race winner then, unfortunately, tonight. So like I said, it's been a crazy one here tonight. Quabi, I say, it's probably again, so maybe pulling you in the booth has made things more wild than usual, but we're going to go ahead and we're going to grab Sebastian Marin on in here because Sebastian in the booth, that's probably the craziest race I've seen in a long time. Behind the wheel, I mean, how crazy was that for you? And then just to cap it all off, you've got a damaged truck there. You see that truck, the Ford truck go by you to grab the lead there, but then somehow you kind of grab the toe, you get that little bit of a side draft. And then I think you've probably got a new best friend in that 31 truck able to give you that big bump at the very end and somehow grab a win even with that damaged truck tonight.
Oh, yeah. I was not expecting to win that race at all. I'm still in awe that I managed to I guess you can say, steal that because my damage was pretty significant. Now seeing it in the replay, it didn't look that bad, but it was hurting because it was mostly all was engine damage. So when that Ford car came out front, I'm like, it's going to be hard to get him, especially since this truck was clean. And I knew my only chance was coming off the corner early and try to pull him back early. But I knew I would be sacrificing the guys behind maybe getting a run. And he was kind. He left a lot of room. And I got to his right rear, and I'm like, I'm either going to beat him to the line or someone else is going to get a run and pass us on the bottom. And I barely managed to get him. So it was a heck of a race, heck of a finish.
Yeah, I'd say, I mean, honestly, survival, attrition are probably the two biggest ones tonight as well. I mean, you look at that restart, and it's like you've got the four of you basically, like green flag flies, and you've got basically a 4-truck breakaway with yourself and Gaetano, Charles Johnson, and Gary Slipinski. And then you lose Gary and Charles on that first lap, I believe, running out of fuel there. and then like I said, you were able to tag on a few more trucks there with Scott and Gaetano and Bob popping in, or sorry, with Scott and Bob popping in there. But I mean, and that's it. Like, I mean, have you ever had a race like that where it's like, okay, we got this attempt number 2, and then there goes like basically half the competition because of just how spread out the field was, and unfortunately, just again the attrition.
Yeah, it was wild. It definitely had probably the most factors to like an end of a race I've ever seen. People running out of fuel. Like you said, a lot of cars were out, which I thought we had a lot more, clean trucks. So on that last restart, I'm like, well, I'm not winning this one. The guys at the back are going to be clean and pass us. And exiting the trial, well, I mean, there was nobody behind me. So it was crazy. It was definitely crazy.
I'd say. So I mean, again, I mean, you find ways to win these ones out of nowhere. So I mean, I got to give you hats off on that, because I mean, that's, like I said, to me, that's probably one of the crazier wins you've had over here at the Area 51. But then and on the side note of that, say, how good does it feel to have a partner in crime back that you've raced with for so long with Zachary Lima? Unfortunately, the race didn't turn out as well as he'd be hoping there. But I mean, you guys, it felt like you didn't miss a step there once he hopped back out on track, and you guys are just kind of lockstep with one another.
Oh yeah, man, it feels good having him back. He's a little rusty. I was kind of helping him out, catching him up on things, with different build and how the draft package has changed a little bit. So he was still getting used to that. But yeah, man, he's a great teammate, and I'm glad that he's back. And I think you'll see him around a bit more.
I'll say definitely never bad to have some good teammates there as well. So, but yeah, just I don't know, man. I don't know how you did that one. That was a wild one tonight. But yeah, definitely congrats tonight, Sebastian, on that win. And before we let you go, though, definitely want to give you the floor here for any thanks and shouts you'd like to give.
Yeah, give a shout out to you guys putting on this broadcast. It's always a lot of fun rewatching the broadcast, listening to your guys's, what you think about the race or the runs, etc. I want to thank my teammates, the Boot Knockers, JD, Eric, Gary, who's been running with us quite a bit now lately, Zach, and Gabe, who's obviously not here this week, but man, that was a great race. I really enjoyed that race and that finish.
Yeah, it was definitely something else tonight. So I enjoyed this one though, man. So enjoy the win, and look forward to seeing you hopefully back on track again soon. And like I said, they got a little extra help again I say not that you need much more help than you already have, but yeah, well done tonight, man. Congrats on that win.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, that is our race winner in that number 23 of Sebastian Marin. So, Quabi, I brought you in for probably the craziest race of the season that we've had thus far. Let's say the one kind of constant is going to be Sebastian Marin in the thick of it at the end. But yeah, that that was a wild one here tonight. I mean, only 4 yellows in the grand scheme of things, but the ones that happened, I mean, they were massive. And let's say there was a fair chunk of drivers that did not find the end of this race because of it.
Yeah, lots of clustered yellows, taking out tons of cars, close enough to the end that you felt like you had to take your fast repair, and then guess what? It was too early and pay the price for it. But, I know Sebastian is often very successful. I think you'll remember this one because it's definitely unorthodox for the kind of wins he usually has.
Yeah, definitely one of the wild ones here tonight. So, like I said, everybody that supports us here at Green White Checkered TV at Area 51 Racing, I want to thank you all so much for being a part of this. It's always a lot of fun to do these things. I'll say tonight, no exception. I'll say, like I said, probably one of the more wild ones that I've ever been a part of as well. So, hope you all enjoyed it. We'll be back on Sunday night for the Super Speedway Xfinity Series. Until then, hope you have a wonderful evening. Happy Friday Eve. Stay safe. Until then, have a good night, everyone.